Welcome in. Today, I'm going to give you 10 tips to help you beat those psychological barriers that are messing with your weight loss and holding you back. But before we get into that, I want to share with you a special transformation with someone named Julie. And also, ultimately, she lost 58 pounds, going for another 50, and she did that in 4 months. Now, I'll mention a little bit about that when we get there, but I want to just real quickly read a testimonial from her, and it all comes down to ultimately her finding more structure and accountability. So she says here, some people can lose weight on their own, but as a food addict, I knew that I was going to need more structure and accountability. So I decided to sign up with a weight loss program. I needed someone to teach me the right way to eat and a support group to lean on. So when I decided on my program, it was incredible because they not only gave me meal plans to follow and support, but they also helped me address the psychological barriers that were keeping me from losing weight. Understanding the mental side made a huge difference in my success. I focused on making just one new healthy habit at a time, drinking plenty of water, and continuously working on learning the psychology of dealing with stress, life, and all of the triggers of food addiction. I've lost 58 pounds in 4 months, and I still have about 50 to go, but I know I'll get there. Now, 58 pounds in 4 months, that is awesome. And also, she's looking to get that additional 50. So you have to think, you got to start. So if you're going to lose 108 pounds, obviously you're starting at a point where you have that to lose. So a lot of times when you're in that position, you can lose a lot pretty quick if you're on the right habits and right routines. And then it gets a little bit more challenging after that. But I do want to say that just so that you're not thinking this here like 58 pounds in 4 months, that's my goal, because that's just what happened to work for her. It may happen faster for you, it may take a year. Everybody's different. But the main things I want you to get from this here, I took a couple notes from when we were talking, and structure and accountability is key here. And a lot of times when it comes to structure, we have to think about blueprint, right? The blueprint of a home, or actually going to an architect to design the blueprint so you understand the structure of the home. If you think about it, if you're building a custom home or really any home, most of the time and thought goes into preparing the blueprint. And then when they actually, because they got to design the home, they got to structure out the layout of the entire property. They need to be able to, of course, know what measurements they're going to need so they can buy the supplies and tools. And then they need to hire the people to be able to come in, and they need to set the schedule to make sure that the right contractors are there on the right date when their materials come in. So there's so much planning that when it actually comes time to put up the home, you may have seen it in your neighborhood driving by. You'll see the foundation one week, and then 2, 3 weeks later, you feel like they're putting on the shingles. And that's just because everybody had a job, everybody had a system, everybody had a plan, and the schedule was literally laid out. And so that's the magic of structure, especially when it comes to a health and fitness program. You need to ultimately meet an architect who can help build you a blueprint to what it is you need to do, and not for the next 30 days. You really need something that's going to give you 6 months to a year to complete your transformation. And I got to use the word complete lightly because, things happen, life happens. There are tons of barriers, which I'm going to get into in a little bit, that happen. And you need to be able to attack those with a nice, solid mind. And you need to be clear. Now, if your mind is focused on these goals that are just not sustainable, it's going to be difficult to be clear. So what I want to do real quick is give you, like I said, 10 tips that are going to help you with the psychological barriers. Because when she said that, I was really curious. I was like, you know what? I want to dig into that, because there are so many barriers that we are going across and coming across as people that we don't really talk about. And a lot of them have such an incredible impact on whether or not we're going to be successful in our fitness goals, our financial goals, our relationship goals. There's really so much that it affects, and you have an opportunity to get ahead of that. But sometimes it really takes from looking outside of the box, bird's eye view, so you can really see what your moves are and how these are actually affecting you on a day-to-day basis. So the first one that's on here is self-talk. And you got to be able to listen to your self-talk, and the self-talk needs to be self-respect, and it needs to be self-acceptance. And the issue with this here is because many of us will look into the mirror and there is negative comments coming back to us, whether it be on our our consistency or our effectiveness or our weight loss or our, physical appearance, whatever it is, there many times can be a lot of negative that comes back. And so we need to start working on that self-talk. And this is something I work on as well. Me being someone who's so goal driven, I frustrate myself mainly because I set goals that really force me to stretch. I don't like attainable goals. Like if it's easily attainable, then I didn't challenge myself enough. I want to make sure that I put a goal in place that takes me to a point where I have to mature and grow to actually be able to achieve that goal. Otherwise, it's not really a stretch. You know what I mean? So, listening to that self talk and understanding, like, look, I set this goal. I'm going to work my best to this, but there's also some other steps to help you make sure that that self talk is better. But first things first is you got to love yourself. You got to love where you're at. You got to love the journey. You got to respect where you're at. And you ultimately, you really got to respect the journey too, because it's going to take some changing. Number two, write out your goals and read them out loud. So this is important because a lot of times they'll say that where do all the dreams and goals end up? The graveyard. They follow you to the graveyard. And you may have heard some of the speeches out there where they talk about, laying on the deathbed or laying in the grave and being surrounded by the ghosts of the dreams and goals that you never accomplished. And they were like, we were ideas. We came to you. It was up to you to bring us to life. And it never happened. So not only do you need to think about your goals, you need to write them down. And then the most important part with this is to really solidify it is you need to read it out loud. Sometimes you need to say it to yourself. Sometimes you need to say it to your spouse, to your dog, to the computer, to a video so you can read it or see it back to yourself. But you do need to speak it into existence. So if you need an exercise to do today, write down some of your goals and read them back to yourself. There's nothing wrong with putting that even on the mirror or on the fridge. Or I remember there was a time where I had some of my goals posted on my steering wheel of my car. So I saw it all the time. It just needs to be in front of you and you need to be able to repeat it. Say it out loud, speak it to existence. Next is meditation. Now, meditation is truly the art of slowing down the thoughts and becoming one with oneself. And in order to do that, you really need to become aware of your thoughts. And these are thoughts when you're sitting, these are thoughts when you're moving around, these are thoughts when you're just going throughout your day. But again, it's just like we spoke when it came to that self talk. We need to make sure that these are positive affirmations going into the mind and that can be then brought out into the life. So when we're looking at meditation, I like to think, I can do it seated with my eyes closed, no noise on, but I can also slip myself into a comforting meditation when I'm in a very loud room or if there's a lot of chaos going on around me, or even a personal goal of mine in a very super stressful day at a red light. I like to be able to disconnect for maybe 15, 30, 20 seconds, whatever it is, and just pull myself into my grounding because sometimes there's stress out there. So learning how to meditate is key. That doesn't mean that you have to do the whole classic legs crossed, elbows on the knees, humming different things with your eyes closed. It doesn't have to be like that. You could do a yoga class. You could do a hot Bikram class. There's so many different things that you can do that can get you into the environment to help you become one with yourself. Meditation is key. Number four, you need to set sustainable goals, and they also need to make sense for your life. I told you a couple seconds ago how I like to set goals that really stretch me. Now, that is sustainable because of what I'm looking to do with my life. For you, if you're looking to make a goal that's going to change your life, it is going to have to be something that stretches you. But then at the same time, does it make sense with where you're at in life right now? And are you going to be able to sustain that over the course of the next couple weeks, next couple months? You may not like it, but the rest of your life. Is it something that you're going to be able to do forever? For me, when I really wanted to cut down and trim for getting on a bodybuilding stage, I put myself through a pretty grueling diet for a number of weeks on top of even more exercise. It's like you're exercising a ton, you take away calories, and then you exercise even more. just to trim down to bare nothing. Now, I know you may not be trying to get on stage. You're just looking to change your life and get in a better and healthier state. So you don't have to go to that extreme. But my point with that is that extreme is too much. I'm not going to be able to do that every single month for the rest of my life. I have no interest in that. I love dessert. Okay. So I'm going to enjoy myself, but I just need to understand what works with my system and what is going to be a goal that allows me to enjoy my life as well. Number five, I want you to think about eating mindfully. Now, I think that there's three times when you eat mindfully. There's before you eat, which is preparing your meals, meaning you're preparing your food with a purpose and you're packaging and sectioning your food in the fridge with a purpose, meaning it needs to be accessible. It needs to be good for consistency. And you need to be able to make sure that you like it, right? You don't want to be, a lot of people will make all this healthy food, put it in the fridge, and then they don't even want to touch it because they're just in the mindset of it's just not as good as whatever else is available. So make sure that it makes sense for you. And then number two out of those three is during your eating, right? You need to be mindful of what your system feels like when it's hungry. You also need to be mindful of what it feels like to be full. If you are eating past those points of being full, your mind has got to tell you at some point in time, like, we are full. We don't need any more of this. And then also at the same time, understanding hunger too. So be mindful of what your body's trying to tell you before you go into actually eating. And then last, I really think it's important to be mindful post meal. So starting to pay attention to how you're feeling off of the meal. What type of energy is it giving you energy, or is it making you tired? Is it making you alert and sharp, or is it dulling you down? Start paying attention to that, because I guarantee you foods will 100% have a direct impact on the amount of energy that you're able to output that you're doing throughout the day. And in reality, when you actually learn how your body feels off of food, there's no need for a diet anymore, because you're going to realize, like, no, this is what I want. This is just my food. That's why a lot of people will say there's no such thing as a good diet. You just need to eat a certain way. And even in bodybuilders, like, we don't just have this diet. Like, this is just how we live. It's not a diet. The mindset of I'm doing this for a couple of weeks is not there. This is just what we do. Number six, say affirmations. So I already said something about affirmations, but affirmations are huge, because this is when you are speaking to yourself. So this is actually what you're saying. We already talked about the fact that you should be speaking to yourself and speaking life into yourself. But what are some examples of some things you could say? So you could certainly get up in the morning. You could be like, okay, I feel incredibly refreshed because I was able to get to bed on time last night, and I'm going to crush my day today because I'm so refreshed. Or maybe it's, I've got all my meals prepped in the fridge, so I'm going to crush my meal plan today. I'm not going to miss anything. I'm going to be able to get all my meals in. I'm doing this for me. Or maybe it's water. I'm going to drink as much water as I can, as I need to today, to be able to get to my requirements, so that I'm hydrated, my joints aren't hurting, my skin isn't dry, and I'm able to actually freely move because there's hydration in the body. Or maybe it's, I'm going to shoot for 80% today. I'm not worried about making 100%, doing everything right, but I'm going to shoot for 80%. Speak these type of affirmations into your day before you even get started with your day. Speak it into existence. Number seven, stop weighing yourself. Are you going to hate to hear that? I know there's some people who get on the scale every single morning, but you've got to stop weighing yourself, because the thing is, fluctuations happen when you're trying to lose weight and gain muscle and such. Some days you're going to be retaining water. Other days you're not going to have as much water. Some days you're going to see muscle growth. Other days you're going to see fat loss or even fat gain. It really depends on how your diet and programming is going, but it's going to go all over the place. In no way, if you're up here, in no way is it going to be a straight line down. In no way. It's going to be zigzag all the way. Sometimes it'll do a loop, and then it goes up here, and then it comes down there, and it's all over the place, because that's just the way life is. So stop weighing yourself, especially if you're using just one of those simple bathroom scales that only tells you what the whole picture is. If you're going to get measurements, at least get something that's reading your composition instead of actually just telling you what the whole thing is. This is my favorite example with this. I'm going to give you a whole tray of mac and cheese. And what I need you to do is weigh and tell me how much mac and cheese is in that tray. But you can't take any of the mac and cheese out of the tray. If you put that tray onto the scale, what is the scale going to tell you? It's going to tell you straight up how much the glass weighs, all the cheese, the pasta, everything that's in there. It's not going to tell you just straight up how much mac and cheese is in there. That's why we get body composition readings. We also do them every couple months because things are going to move and fluctuate, but we want to see that you're trending in the right direction. And the reason we get them every few is because then we can also make adjustments. But if you're checking it daily, I guarantee you it's going to cause mental frustration. It's never going to show what you want it to see because some days it's good, some days it's crazy. You had a good weekend, you went out, enjoyed yourself like a normal human being. All of a sudden, scale says you're up 4 pounds. Then all of a sudden you're guilty for the fun that you had for the weekend. And that makes no sense. So stop looking at the scale so much. Get off of it. Number 8, forget the cleanse. There are detox cleanses everywhere, right? A really popular one right now is a metal detox. And so these detoxes are everywhere, but they are not going to truly do anything for you until you emotionally detox. So you can do all these physical detoxes, these drinks and teas and all sorts of such, but that doesn't mean it's going to do anything for you, especially when it comes to weight loss. When it comes to a detox, I personally believe the first thing that detox is the mind and the emotional state. Then you can start to work into the physical. Because chances are, if you release the physical detox, but you haven't fixed the triggers in your mind, you may actually just go and replace those toxins with what you choose to eat or how you choose to live. So focus on the mind first. Detox the mind, detox the emotional state. Then we can start to detox the body. Number 9, release energy vampires. Now, energy vampires are relationships. They could be romantic relationships, but they could be employee relationships. They could be boss to employee. It could be, mailman to FedEx man. I don't know. Like it could be a lot of different stuff. Like there's so much stuff that it could be. But these drainers, what happens is it drains your precious energy and unfortunately replaces that with excessive stress and excessive cortisol. Now, the problem with stress and cortisol is they also are going to mess with the physique because of water retention and because of holding on to fat deposits. A lot of times we won't think like, how is my emotional state so wrapped up into my physical look, my physical being? And that's the thing. A lot of times stress and cortisol can be at such high levels that it just makes it impossible to release any extra water and ultimately start having good effects. It's almost as if your body is trying to protect itself. There's something called cognitive dissonance. And the issue with this here is that's actually when the mind goes into that state. Maybe you have, limited your carbs and started getting onto a better diet. But because the cortisol and stress is so high in the body, your body won't release because just like I mentioned, it for some reason now sees this extra layer as protection. And this protection could be protection from whatever it is that was stressing you out in the first place. So we need to address the stressor, the energy vampire first, before we start looking into other avenues. And then lastly, I want you to think about living as if. Living as if. Now, what is this here? So first thing you do is you take a picture of yourself currently, like right now, or something that's recent, something that you can grab a hold of real quick. And then I want you to also look for a picture from either in your past where you were at the weight, living the lifestyle that you're trying to live right now, or if you have an ideal physique or, someone you've been looking at, a coach or anything like that, grab a hold of that picture. And what I want you to do is think about the mindset that the person in that picture is or was in. So if it's a picture of your past, somewhere that you used to be, a physique that you used to have, think about how you were living, the decisions you were making, how you got up in the morning, just really all that stuff. What was the mindset of that person? And then, of course, if you're looking at a coach or a goal, dream body or whatever it is, see if you can dig into that person's information and try to really find out what it is that they're doing on a daily basis to help impact their mindset. And the whole live as if idea And this is from Mario Martinez. I love this training. What you need to do is you need to live as if you were that person in that picture we're talking about. Maybe it's the picture from the past or the picture for the future, but live as if you were them for 10 days. That's thinking like them, eating like them, training like them, spreading love like them, whatever it is, all the different stuff. Live like that for 10 days. And what Mario says is that by the end of this 10 days, you take a look at that picture and you take a look at the new picture. Now, of course, if you grabbed a coach from the future, it's not going to be as close, but you will notice, especially if it was a picture from your past, just through the happiness of enjoying and living that lifestyle and at least putting an attempt towards it, you will find yourself looking better, happier, and feeling better in just those 10 days. That's only 10 days. But why is it so important? Because of the mind. The mind is the biggest challenge in this whole thing. I work with so many people right now, and we got the details down. We got the path, we got the avenue. But what I'm constantly noticing is its mindset. I'm becoming much more of a mindset coach than I am a weight loss coach. We've got the details. We know how to lose the weight. We know how to build the muscle. We know macros, micros, all that stuff. We know flexibility. We're learning manual therapy, all that stuff. But what really is it that we have to do to lock in on the mindset of making this thing happen? And the thing is, I got books all over the place and tons of stuff online that I'm constantly soaking up and reading and learning and then sharing just to try and help people understand that once you really identify yourself as this new individual, this successful person, the person you want to be, then we can start plugging into place all the little things from mindset that you're going to need, because you're going to come across hurdles and you're going to come across challenges. So you're going to have some type of system in place for when that comes across. It's just like, and I'll finish with this, it's just like negative thoughts. Negative thoughts are the weakest the first 5 minutes that they're in your mind. So you have 5 minutes to get those thoughts out. You may think about it for a moment, but you got to get rid of it. And once you're down to 5 minutes, then take it down to 60 seconds, then down to 30 seconds, and then finally give yourself a 10-second countdown. As soon as you have a negative thought cross into your mind, count down from 10. And by the time you get down to 1, know that you are not allowed to hold on to this negative thought any longer. After practicing this, that 10 will become 5. And after more practice, that 5 seconds will become 1 second. And then we come all the way back up to number 1, where we're listening to that self-talk. And now all of a sudden, that is the number 1 cheerleader that has your back. And that's you yourself. So again, falling in love with the process, because we're in love with the goal. That's why we have the goal. But you have to fall in love with the process of getting there, or else you'll never get there. So thank you for listening. I hope that this helped out. If there's anything that I can do to help you, of course, you can shoot a message on over. If you like this video, of course, if you click like or comment, it's going to help me get this out to more people. But most importantly, I'm talking to you. If you need help with getting your mindset locked in, then it's time that we talk. The goal here is specifically just to get you to speak and talk out your goals. Sometimes you just need to hear it. And then we figure out your affirmations and what it is that you need to do on a daily basis to make this thing happen. Thanks for your time and attention. I'll see you in the next clip.